So now we have another problem to solve. We have to call our function triangle stars and create a function that prints a triangle to console, like this, the number of vertical stars determined by the input. So now I have written this code and this is my code, but to explain you it will be better, in my opinion, to rewrite code and during that explain what I want to do. I did some work here already. So how to write? It's the hardest part of understanding this is to decide how to write. So I want to write my code with 4 parts, divided by 4 parts. First part will be about spaces. Second part I want to write about stars, and then we will discuss what I write here. Then we will see what we have. So let's create 2 functions. First will be spaces, and second will be stars. Spaces, I want spaces. If I give a number, the spaces will be equal to that number. I mean, if I give the argument 5, I want to have 5 spaces there. So let's create a function. Call that space. There is function with argument of spc. So what if spc, there is spaces, is equal to 0? It means that we have nothing. In that case, what we have to do? We have to break our function. So if our spc is equal to 0, then return nothing. So what if spc is not equal to 0? Then in that case we have to return space and use recursion. I mean space, call space with spc minus 1. Now we have created a function for spaces, and this will create spaces until spc argument that we gave will be equal to 0. Now let's create another function for stars. Call that stars, and this is equal to also function with str. There is argument that we gave to him, or it. What if stars is equal to 0? I think that can't be, because in our first line it has to be 1 space. So if str is equal to 0, also return nothing. With the same way as in space function, we can write in star function, but this time we need to return star instead of space, and add stars str minus 1. Now let's create another function that will cache together space function and stars function. Let's call that function let's run function. This function will take 3 arguments. Let's write, and then we'll explain why I want to write in this way. str and spc. So what we want to do is writing code for stars, and for this we need 3 things. First, how stars we need, and for every line. For example, when we want to know how many stars will we have in the last line, we can't say without knowing how many lines we have. And also we need spaces. It means we need lines. How many lines? We need stars. So how many stars we need for every line, and how spaces we need for every line. So there is what I write here. Here is n, that's lines, stars, str, and spc. So firstly, let's cache together those. Console log that function space with spc argument, and function stars with argument str. This will sketch together. If you write space separately and star separately, it will sketch them together, and it will appear in one line. So now what we want to do, what we will have if it's the first line and second line. In the second line, what will happen with these arguments? If we say that the first line is, we call this is n, this line. The second line will be n-1, n-1 will be this, and this third one will be n-2, and until it will be get to 0, n-n, and will stop working. So it means n decreases for every line. What will happen with stars? You see that in the first line there are 1, and the second line there are 3, and the third line there are 5. So every line it is added by 2. So we can say that stars is added by 2. And what will happen with space? Space, we see that for every line, here is our initial star line, and for every line the space decreases with 1. Let's write what will happen with run. In the after first line, it will be n-1 and n-1, and stars will be added to with 2, and spaces will be decreased by 1. Now in our exercise we have to create triangle star function, which will be called, and after that will be the result of this one here. Let's create that function, const this function, and this is function with arguments. So now what we need 1 argument, because 3 arguments is enough, so many for ruling one function. We need to have 1 argument for 1 function in order to be easy to control that. So instead of these three arguments, we now have to write one function, one argument. It will be easy to write n instead of n. There is not something to change. What is our initial? I mean, how many stars we have in our first line? In our first line, I think we had 1 star, so I can write 1. And how many spaces we had? In first line we had n characters, and if one was star, it means n minus 1 were spaces. So here now, oh no, this is not. We have to have one argument, there is n, and this function has to console.log our function run, and here we will write n 1 and n minus 1. So I think we have done this already. Oh shit, we have something I forgot. Function, this is our constant function. This, like this. After this, now we have done our function. There is